that there's that lag. All right, cool. All right, well, welcome to another Run Wild with us. You know what? You can ask us anything. I am Lisa Kastner, and I'm here with one of our absolutely brilliant editors and authors, Cecilia Kennedy. And we are typically here with two of our additional editors, Peter Wright and Benjamin White, and I'm sure they will join shortly. And we're here to answer absolutely any questions that you may have. Well, you know, within reason, unless you get weird. So, that said, typically people ask us questions about publishing, the business of publishing, the craft of writing, all that kind of stuff. For those who may not be familiar with us, Running Wild is actually a publisher and licensor, and we have 4 imprints: Running Wild Press, RIZE Press, Trompe L'Oeil Press, and Junkyard Rooster, Junkyard Rooster Press. And you can find our website URL in the subject line. So typically how it works is we'll talk about some content or information or discussions that we've had recently in this realm, this creative realm. And then what we will do is anytime that you post a question into the comments section, I will reiterate it, and then we'll take turns responding to your questions. Now, if you are watching this and it is not Thursday at 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, it's not a big deal. You can just go ahead, put your questions into the comments section, because we actually do check it afterwards and throughout the week to see if there's anything waiting for us. And we actually got a really, really interesting question a little while ago that, like, oh my God, I love these questions, but I really want it to go deeper. That's fabulous. I love that comment. What my ask is, though, is to just go at whatever that deeper is, ask it, right? Because we could go 100 different ways. We're infamous for doing that, by the way. So if you give us that direction in terms of what it is that you're looking for in terms of going deeper within a question or a comment, fabulous. Just give us that guidance, and we're happy to address it. Priya Hutner says, Lisa, I can't wait to see you at Tahoe for the Tahoe Lit Fest. Priya, I can't wait to see you at Tahoe. For those who aren't familiar, so Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, actually has an incredible literary festival. I believe it's in its 3rd year, and I will be there this year on, I believe it's Saturday. I'll be there, and I'll give you a link to their website in the comments section so you guys can check it out. It's still pretty new, so it's really fun. It's because it's intimate. They usually get maybe 100 to 150 people. It lasts about a day and a half, 2 days. So definitely, like, if you want to have that, like, that rigor of a new conference or festival that's focused both on the reader and the writer, definitely check it out. So with that, actually, I'm going to use that as a starting point. So Cecilia, what was your first ever, like, writer or writerly conference? And, like, what did you take from it? What made you say, oh my gosh, now I have to keep going?
I think one of the first actual writing, like I did like lit conferences and those kinds of things for professional development when I was teaching. But my first writers conference was the Columbus, Ohio Writers Conference. I lived in Ohio at the time. And my mother and I had translated some medieval plays into English. And they were a lot of fun. I mean, they're aimed for the general public. They were marriage plays back in the day, and they were hilarious. And so we were going to think about getting them published for the mainstream. We had published an article about it. And then we came pretty close. We started to go to the little pitches, and we went to pitch to one publisher. She didn't like it so much. It was a literary agent. She didn't like it as much. She liked us, but she didn't like the idea so much. And then there was a Hollywood producer guy at the very last day, and he goes, and we were the only ones in the conference room. I think everybody had left at that time. And he goes, "I like you ladies." And he was like so encouraging, but we never followed up with it. And then I had another idea that was a nonfiction book that somebody was interested in, but I was so busy teaching, I just never followed up with any of it. And but it was still very inspiring. There were people giving talks about, every aspect of publishing. There was one who wrote to literary magazines, and she just really, or actually not even literary magazines. There was things like parenting magazine. Like she was writing articles all over to like things that you read, like normal, like people will read in like doctor's offices and whatnot, or get subscriptions to, like People and Family Circle and all kinds of stuff. And she made a living writing these articles and doing these things. And I thought, that sounds great. That's what I like to do. And she said, "Here's what you do about rejections." She goes, you send her, she goes, "I get so many." She goes, "I feel bad about them for like a second and I move on and I keep going." I was like, wow. Like, how do you do that? And now I understand what that is, because I submit to literary magazines. The rejection, it stings for like half a second, because you're like, well, but I've already had all these other acceptances and I've got all these other ideas, and there's so many other magazines. I think now what's different now than back in those days is that we have so many more publications and so many ways to be published. I would think that even like right now with conferences and with the way things are right now with publishing, people should feel encouraged. There's just, if you have something to say, there are lots of ways to say it. So yeah, but it was invigorating to keep writing. At the time I was teaching full time, plus Alex was in school. I was on, doing committee meetings and everything. So I just really couldn't pursue anything until much later. But, and I'm not pursuing any of those ideas. They're all new. So you'll always have new ideas. They're always there.
I love it. Oh my gosh, that's fabulous. I absolutely love it. I'm not sure. I think the first writers conference I attended, I had finished my undergraduate, my graduate, my MBA, and it was actually after that is when I thought, I need to write. Like I need to do something, around writing. And I started writing, instead of saying I'll write a short story, I decided I'm going to write a novel, because that makes a whole lot of sense, right? And it started off very literary, and then I guess you could say my eclectic taste really came out, because somehow it evolved from literary to like Agatha Christie-esque mystery to thrillers to horror, and then back to like Sherlock Holmes, right?
Yeah.
And
I love it.
I feel so bad for anybody trying to read it, because I am not even going to try and claim that it made any sense. But I went to the Philadelphia Writers Conference first, because it was I think it was like a 2-day, and it was something I could drive to, and I just thought, okay. And the whole time I was just terrified. I thought, oh my God, everyone's going to tell me, because you could actually submit work. And I was like, everyone's going to tell me my writing's awful and, give up and, blah, blah, blah. Because like I had taken like chapters and I had massaged them so they were short stories, and I was submitting them out. And oh my gosh, the rejections were insane. I mean, it was clear, not only was it a template, but a lot of it seemed like they just didn't even bother reading it. It was like, I don't know,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know if my work is really that awful, or if this is something like, and I had read the same thing you did, right? Where it's like, just keep sending it out. Don't let it get you down. But I was one of those nerd balls that I like I would read the feedback and
Yeah.
I would try and adjust the work based on the feedback. Because at the time I didn't understand that, you know, sometimes the feedback's not relevant, and you know, unless you have that bigger picture of what you want it to accomplish,
Right.
you're not going to be able to respond. I mean, I wouldn't have responded to them, but I wouldn't have felt like I had to implement it, you know,
Right.
like and have to integrate it. So, but then the one where the first one I felt fancy, which like was like where you go away, was actually the Pennsylvania or the Philadelphia was Penn Writers. It was the Penn Writers Conference. And that one altered between upstate Pennsylvania and lower, like more the Philadelphia area in terms of location. And it was a multi-day on-site. And I was like, look, I'm so fancy. I have a hotel room. Like, how cute is that? Right? Like, oh my God. And I think Donald Moss was the keynote.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know at the time that Donald Moss was like this huge literary agent. And I think he had just come out with the version of his book on how to write a breakthrough novel that had the because the first version I don't believe had a workbook to it. And it had just come out with a version that had a workbook to it. And I was just like, oh wow, okay, well, this is interesting, you know. And I like studied that workbook like crazy, you know, just to kind of figure out, like, because it's more so focused on, for anyone who checks out, by the way, I absolutely tell everyone, it doesn't matter the genre you write in, definitely pick up that workbook, because it'll help you focus on what aspects of writing you need to make sure are really integrated, and how to really make that story pop, so that you don't have like points of lag, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah, especially with a long form piece. So anyway, it was so funny because the first one, the Philadelphia Writers Conference, that was only like a day and a half. I still remember I was in a workshop that I paid extra for, where you send in like, you know, 10, 15, 20 pages, and the workshop leader reviews it, you know, and, you know, gives you open feedback. And that was the one where like I was so depressed because I kept getting rejection after rejection after rejection. And I thought, okay, finally someone's going to tell me why I'm a piece of, you know, because like every new author, you take it very personally, right? And it's like, clearly there's something wrong that I'm doing, right? And someone's going to tell me, you know, what it is. And that was the one where he pulled me aside. He was like, okay, I need to talk to you. And I was like, okay, because none of his feedback was horrid, by the way. Like it was just like, oh, well, this is, you know, really literary, you know, blah, blah, blah. And you may want to look at, you know, X, Y, or Z, right? And I'm writing notes voraciously, right? Because I'm just like, oh my God, you know, clearly, because he had just landed like a 3-book deal, and he was in the middle of the first draft of the second book. And, you know, so like he was trying to juggle his commitment to run a workshop for the Philadelphia Writers Conference and, you know, meet his deadline with his publisher. And so he pulls me aside into like one of the empty workshop rooms, and he was like, okay, I have to tell you, if you keep writing like this, you're going to get published when you're 50. And at the time, all I heard was, you're going to get published. And in my mind, I was just like, yay.
Well, I mean, what's so bad at being published at 50? Because I'm like, past 50. I'm having my second 30th birthday. No, second 20 something birthday.
Exactly. I'm having my second 20. Let me think about this.
Yeah, I know. I can't do math. This is why I write.
27 and a half. No, that's
I
not
won't
right.
be publishing any math books.
Anyway, whatever. Yeah, 27 and a half in November. But and then he continued about how, look, you're a very literary writer and it's, gorgeous and blah, 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 but that's not what big publishers are looking for.
Right.
So if you want a major book deal, so he basically gave me the feedback that his agent had given him.
Yeah.
Like, you need to write in a genre, And I thought,
which is the opposite of everything that you hear these days. Like, sometimes you hear genre work is not the thing to do. I just say, do what you love. Just do what you love. Eventually.
Agree. And it's so funny. Like, every time I'm on a panel, this always comes up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, so, like, why do you write? And, what guidance can you give writers? And every time I'm like, well, figure out what you want first, right? Like, do you want to be a full-time writer? If you want to be a full-time writer, then you should probably at least start with genre. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean you can't do literary, right? It just means that if you want to actually make a living, you want to start probably with a genre of some sort, and then you can expand from there, which is much easier today than it was, like, 20 years ago. Not that you and I went to workshops for the first time 20 years ago. Clearly it was only 5. So.
I can't remember when it was.
So Peter, what was the very first writers conference you went to, and what made you say, okay, I'm gonna keep going?
It was AWP in Chicago back in 2009, I believe. It was in town. I just started the program. I got lucky enough to get into the grad school graduate program, and I realized that AWP was right there. I'm like, what's going on here? Let's check this out. And they didn't issue IT, so I had to talk my way into the conference at the student rate, which I was able to do because I was out of a job. So I had free time during the day. But it just blew my mind. I mean, all the conferences, all the talks, all the readings, it was just like being completely immersed, like being in a fishbowl, just completely immersed in writing. And that just, like, it really opened my eyes and go, like, wow, this is something that I can do. This is where I belong. This is what I should be doing. So yeah, that's what started the journey. I talked a little bit last week about the agent who believed in me and said, you got to learn your craft. Well, this is a couple steps later, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm.
So, and here I am, X number of years, 5 years later, exactly.
Exactly. Exactly. So did you have anything, like, cool this week that you want to share, or, like, any discussion points?
I have my first call with the intern next week on the novel we're co-editing.
Oh,
so
cool.
She is just vivacious and positive and, like, everything a college student should be. I'm like, wow, if I had that attitude when I was her age, I'd have gone to University of Chicago. But, so I've read through her edits on the first chapter. We're gonna go chapter by chapter, and her insights are really interesting, and I want to work with her on them. But I'm gonna go through and edit the chapter as if I'd never seen anything that she'd done, and send her that, and we'll prepare notes next week and go, okay, well, this is how I approached it. I understand how you approached it, but let's find some middle ground to see what works best for the author, because it's the author's work,
right?
And it's not about how I feel the writing should be. I mean, yes, of course, my opinion get filtered through my comments and my questions, but it's really about staying true to the author's voice. And that's tough to pick up on, because you really want to make this book the best it can be from your perspective. Well, it's basically from the author's perspective, and you're adding on, you're tweaking, you're adjusting. And like I said, I haven't studied her comments in depth because I scanned through them, but I want to make sure that we're both on the same page in terms of making the author's words true and making their story the one we're telling.
No, I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. On Saturday, I attended one of Jonathan Mayberry's
Oh,
author workshops. You know,
cool.
he'll do like a 3-hour, and it was amazing. He's absolutely generous and just insightful. And yeah, I absolutely loved the entire thing. You get a whole packet. This was on how to write a novel. So I was like, maybe I should have attended this before I wrote my novel. But you know, it's like you go back through it and I'm like, okay, I did this well. I did this well. Maybe I didn't do this as well, but there may be justifications for why I didn't. I don't know. But it does give you a good insight into the process. And he's just amazing. There was one of the questions from one of the authors was this. He said that he knew that his writing needed work. He knows it. And he's been going to peer groups. And he said, and the peer groups are just telling him his writing is awful. And Jonathan Mayberry said, I hate it when feedback is just mean and soul crushing. He said it should not be mean and soul crushing. You need to give feedback that is useful and that does not tear a writer down. I'm like, amen. I'm listening to that. I'm like, I love this man for saying this out loud to everyone. So I was typing in the chat, like, he's like, where do I find these peer groups? I'm typing in the chat. I'm like, volunteer for literary magazines, because you're surrounded by other editors who are trained at giving feedback. We will tell you what's working. And what I always set it up as strengths and opportunities for revision. And always couching it as, you could do this. It might be fun to explore this. If you choose to do this, you know, these are some questions that you can use to generate more ideas, you know, those kinds of things. Where it gets tricky is sometimes you do have to tell an author the truth about it has to be specific. I mean, I worked for Pearson Publishing as a writing tutor, but also a mentor to the other writing tutors. And there was a system called Identify, Explain, Show. So you need to identify something specific and accurately. It has to be specific and accurate, and it has to actually be a problem. You can't tell somebody that they don't have, I don't know what it is, a conclusion when it's staring you in the face, right? It has to be accurate, and it has to be specific. So you have to clearly state what it is, and then explain why it might be a problem to a reader, from the reader's point of view. Where is a reader going to get stuck? And then you can show with examples of how to fix it. Some of your authors won't need that. They won't need the show part. It's just enough sometimes to identify and explain. But if you have somebody who's really lost, you can show with some, they don't have to take your example. They don't have to take your suggestions, but you've at least identified a problem that can be fixed. So I'm typing in the chat that you can go to, the volunteer to be a reader. You learn to give feedback, and you learn to receive feedback that's, rooted in something that has structure to it, not just, I don't like this. But yeah, I did have an experience today where I had to tell an author that their work might not resonate with maybe female like women readers. I'll just put it that way. I'll just put it that way. But I did point out everything that I did like. And I was, because I realized that this author sent it to me with all good intention, not to be, I recognized that it was with good intention, and with good intention, I wanted to give the feedback. I had this one paragraph about, I really wish that this could have been this way. So that's what I'm seeing. But here are some possibilities, for this character, maybe to give her a little bit more agency at this point, whatever it may be. So, it's kind critique. I guess, is what we're looking for. And yeah, some of the readers groups can be harsh. So I just loved Jonathan Mayberry for saying, you don't have to be a jerk when you give feedback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that was, I mean, lots of other really great tips. Oh, another one was, okay, so like your character. I
Yes,
love
ma'am.
this.
Go.
I was so excited. You've probably heard of this before, but this was new to me. Characters. If you are kind of wondering about them in your story, wondering if they're effective, interview them. Interview them and ask them what they're doing in your story. I love this so much. And have them defend themselves. And if they can't, get rid of them. Get rid of their side quests. Get rid of these things. You know, they're applying for a job in your story and you're interviewing them. I love that. I love it so much. So yeah, lots of things, but it was very inspiring and very fun. And he was just amazing. So
now part 2 of the get rid of them is don't just delete that. Because if it's a character that you're like, this character's cool.
Right. Yeah.
Like make a side, make a side document of all the cool characters that maybe you had to take them out of this one book, but there might be an opportunity to use them elsewhere. Yeah.
And then you can write them the letter that says the job is not, we've gone with other candidates who are more qualified, but we will keep your resume on file for future positions. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, exactly. I love it. That's awesome.
I approached it quite similarly in terms of the respect of the author's words, because they spent hours and hours and hours working on this. To show it to someone else, to be accepted for publication is one thing, but in a peer group of other writers, I'm like, you don't tear them down. I mean, it's one thing to separate yourself from the manuscript. I learned that very early on, very painfully, that you separate, that you are not the manuscript. They're critiquing the manuscript, but not critiquing the writer, the author. You know, once you have that in place, you're on solid ground. That being said, you critique the manuscript with the respect and the politeness that you would expect to get from them. You don't seek to tear down, you seek to make better. Okay, this didn't quite work, but let's think about this, think about this, think about this. But let's start here as a good base. Let's build into something better. Okay, you don't tear it down just as straight because you're not comfortable with what you've written. You make it better based on what you think it can become within the author's ability, within their skill as a writer.
Yeah, and also paybacks are hell. So if you're the one in the peer group giving the horrible comments, it's coming back to you, and then nothing's going to get done. That's a dysfunctional peer group.
Yes. I encourage him or her to search for a different one.
I mean, and honestly, if the feedback you're getting, it's not something that's actionable, right? Then, you know, in my mind, if they can't make it something that's actionable, which Cecilia is basically what you're describing, right? And Peter, what you're describing, then, you know, why listen to it? It's not there to assist you. It's not there to help you grow as a writer and grow as a storyteller. They're just, you know, venting in some capacity. You know, maybe their dog bit them when they were on the way into the workshop and decided, you know what, I'm taking this out on, you know, Peter just because, you know, or, you know, maybe their boss, you know, downgraded them or something. Who knows, right? But what they're taking something out on you, you don't have to accept that. So,
well, it's not beneficial. It's not helping your writing.
Right.
Which is the whole purpose of a peer group, is to be a better writer.
Yeah.
Well, and it's funny too, you know, every once in a while we'll get authors who come to us and they're like, well, I've already had this through like 20 peer groups and therefore it's ready for publication, you know, and it's so much of it is, you know, no matter the publisher, all publishers, the editor is going to have a different take or have a different view on it. You know, some may come back with like almost no feedback, and which is wonderful. But, you know, I'd say, you know, at least 80 to 90% of the time, they're going to come back with something, you know. I mean, and I'm talking about even, you know, huge award-winning best-selling authors like Jonathan, right? I can guarantee that every time he submits to his publisher or publishers, they come back minimally with some kind of like proofreading edits.
Oh yeah.
Right. So, it's normal. It's just part of the process. And instead of looking at it as something that's not healthy, honestly, I think a lot of times being in a professional gig where you have to take feedback, like Cecilia, because you do copy editing, right? Or copywriting as a day job, you get used to that whole like, okay, fine, I'm getting feedback. You get used to taking in feedback and processing it and figuring out like how is this benefit the story or benefit the writing itself.
Well, that's a different story. You're getting feedback from people sometimes who don't write.
Well, that's true.
And you're getting, I've gotten some, oh my gosh, grammar critiques that were so wrong. I'm like, okay, come on. And so you do have to swallow your pride. There are a lot of licensors who view themselves as writers and they write over your stuff, who will take your words and turn them into corporate speak so that it sounds like any marketing thing. So that's a different story. That one actually irks me. Those are the because they're not critiques. They're just people going in and rewriting it and saying, we're the licensor or whoever, and this is how it's going to go. And then you have nothing for your portfolio and your voice has been silenced. I mean, honestly, it's not your voice, it's, the brand or whatever, but I'm like,
right.
Come on, this is kind of fun thing to do with the voice or with the brand or whatever it is. So yeah, that one actually irks me a little bit, but I do get paid either way. But
Yeah,
also,
exactly.
I've had a lot of successes with it too, in that, many licensors have been hands off and have been wonderful. Like my favorite is Godzilla. Oh my God, they're the best. Oh my God, Godzilla Toho is the best. They let me write almost anything I want. Oh my God, they're so great. They are so great. I love them so much. Yeah. So Godzilla.
Okay.
Love you.
Oh God. Well, that was a place I didn't know we were going, but awesome.
No, but that is another side of writing. You do have to kind of just suck it up sometimes, and you do.
Well, I mean, peer groups aren't trained to look for what we look for. I mean, we're looking for stuff to make something publication ready. We're looking to make something whatever's in their mind to make it for their perspective, for their palate.
Right.
We look to see how can a huge area of readers take this book and accept it as is and be involved in the story without being distracted. They're going, well, this isn't pretty enough, or this isn't that enough, or I don't like what he just said. Like, that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make the book commercially publishable.
Right.
So that it's legible, it's readable, and engaging for a variety of readers. And that's our goal. That's not a peer group's goal.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. Now, along those lines, so Suzanne Craig Wytock states the importance of a critical friend.
Yes.
So, my question to you guys is: do you have a critical or critique friend, and how did you find that or those individuals?
I married her.
Yeah.
No, you cheated because she's the chief marketing officer. So I'm just saying.
She's also a voracious reader, so
smart.
she's gonna tell me if something worked or doesn't work.
That's true. That is, and she's fabulous, by the way. Just saying. So how did you find her then? I mean, other than the fact that you married her.
Yeah. How did you meet?
We met at work. Strangely enough, we met at work, and I thought she was married. She's like, "No, I'm getting to work." I'm like, "Okay, well, what are you doing on Saturday?"
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, 24 years.
Wow! Oh my gosh!
It's incredible, amazing.
That's amazing!
And we keep growing. We both keep growing. I mean, wow. So, yeah. But she's my first reader.
Okay. All right. How about you, Cecilia? Do you have a critical
Well,
friend?
for any
Or her?
short story, it's Nate. Nate is my first reader, and he is very good at giving honest feedback. He has yet to read my novel, but we're going to go on vacation to someplace. We're going to go to Fiji, and I made him download the PDF. I'm like, now you have something on the plane to read, and he's like, okay. And so, but we'll see. But also I've met a lot of people just through editing or blogging. I meet a lot of people. I have a blog that's a humor blog, and many of the people that I'm blogger friends with are also writer friends. And I don't know how she might feel about me saying this out loud, but Suzanne has been an amazing critical friend who can read my stuff and offer any feedback she wants, and I won't be mad. So yeah, I love it. Yeah. And then I have another beta reader that I use as well, and she's amazing. She will tell me this isn't working, but this is. And so yeah, so I have a couple if Nate's not available. So.
I people volunteer to be my beta reader, which terrifies me. So yeah, because but I have a couple of standard beta readers, and like you described, Cecilia, typically my husband, I wait until it's at least, I think it's ready for a third party to read. Although his feedback is typically spot on. It's just like something in me. I don't want to disappoint him. So I want to make sure it's like ready, if that,
Yeah.
But actually all of my critique readers aren't writers. They're all people I know who read with a critical eye.
Yeah.
And love to read.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, not a lot. Sometimes the feedback they give is spot on, and I'm like, God damn it! I wish I would have thought of that. Mm-hmm. And other times, it's like we were talking about before. Like I have a critical reader who he actually used to. I used to be his boss, and then he retired. Mm-hmm. And when he retired, he was like, "Okay, great. So now I'm going to be one of your readers." And I thought, I am in so much trouble. And he honestly, all his feedback's fabulous. But some, like we were talking about previously, like if he doesn't like a structure, he just knows he doesn't like it. It's not necessarily that he can identify that it's the structure itself, if that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. So
that's sometimes better, because they give you the gauntlet over to you and said, you fix this. I can't tell you how, but you need to fix this.
Right. Yeah. So but then I usually have more than one critique partner. I usually ask like 2 or 3 people to read it. And then if I'm in panic mode, and poor Peter has experienced this, I've done this to him before. I do it to Ben all the time. Actually, both of them get hit with me doing this all the time. If I have written something for like a magazine or an anthology or whatever, and then you go into that panic mode like right before you hit send.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, no, I need one more person to read this. And I'm like, here, read this. Let me know if it's complete crap. And so far, both Ben and Peter put up with me. So, but I try not to do that too frequently, because I completely know it's an inconvenience, and it's not. It's actually bad form. But yes, I do have those panic moments. So, Suzanne says to Cecilia specifically, and you do the same for me. So. I don't know.
We've exchanged manuscripts before. Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. And Suzanne is also one of our authors, which is even more fabulous.
Amazing. So. Yeah. And it's in the production stage, at least at this point. I think it was a couple of months ago. So yeah. So that one's going to be coming along. I'm excited.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, and then so for anyone who is submitting to us, just a heads up, if you're submitting work to us at this juncture, everything that we have accepted most recently is probably going to be in the 2028 catalog. And because our 2027 catalog is so full, I actually ended up having to push all of our anthologies out to 2028 because we had over 50 titles tagged for 2027. So if you submitted to us more recently, you haven't heard back, you're probably not going to hear back until probably, I'd say, what do you think, Peter? Like the beginning of 2027, something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all backed up with novels that we're working on.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we now thankfully, and by the way, if we acquire it in 2027, it probably means it's not going to get published until 2028, 2029, just as a heads up. So, and I know that sounds like a super long period of time away from now, but believe me, it creeps up on you just like that. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, there's the editing process could take anywhere from, a month if you're Cecilia to 3 to 6 if you're me, because she breaks your books.
No, it takes a while. It depends on the project, really. I mean, it can take a while for the editing to happen. So
production from what the final manuscript is 12 months is what I found my office.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No,
or
I mean,
2 years if you're Ben.
Yeah. So like, to give you an idea, I submitted in July of 25, I believe, my manuscript. And then it got picked up in December of 25. I got my contract, I think. That's when it was. And then I got an editor in January of 2026. And she told me upfront, I've got 4 other manuscripts for you. And I was like, I get it. And she goes, it'll be a while. She didn't even give me a time frame. I'm like, I get it. I totally get it. I didn't even ask. Yeah. So like in the meanwhile, I am doing my other stuff. And all of a sudden in July, she's like, yeah, I'm getting ready to read this. And then we went through several edits. And I think by the end of July, beginning of August, it was done and ready to give to you. I think it was maybe last week or a couple weeks ago, I was able to say, yeah, it's ready for production. But it probably won't be published until probably 2028 or so. So it's like, what do you do in that time frame? Because you're so excited and you would like to see, well, there are blurbs. So I am rattling the cage of the blurbosphere, trying to get blurbs from people. So there are blurbs to get. And then there are just go back to your contract. There's all the marketing stuff that you can start thinking about. So I'm going to get myself, some people love their online calendars, like Airtable and all kinds of stuff. I love a good paper calendar. So my goal this weekend is to get myself a nice girly calendar, flowers and stuff on it, and start planning out, launches of things, social media posts, those kinds of things. Who do I want to submit to for awards? Maybe who do I want to review this? What magazines do I want to submit the announcements to? So that's all in your contract. You can just go through. There's advice about getting a business card. I don't have one. Maybe I should go get one. These are kinds of things that you can start doing. I have an author's website, but I can also redo it. I can think of the cover. I've got an idea for the cover too. So, those are all the kind of fun things that you can do in the background while you're waiting, and they take time too. So before you know it, that way, if you have everything in order, then it'll continue to flow all the way to launch date.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think back to what we were talking about previously as well. Now is a great time to figure out, where can you go to a Lake Tahoe writers conference?
Yeah.
Can you get a table?
Yeah.
And, that way you have physical representation there, even if you're not one of the speakers, but if you're physically there, right? Because you would be shocked at how that kind of thing, it snowballs, right? Someone picks up your work as they're wandering through, the Tucson Book Festival, And, you know, the next thing you know, they're telling their friends who told their friends who told their friends, and you're being, you know, you're getting emails or messages inviting you to go and either have a table or talk or be on a panel or what have you. So, you know, definitely to Cecilia's point, you know, use the time between when the book is done in terms of editing to when it's ready to be published, to really kind of, you know, map that out. So it's a lot less stressful for you. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, great points. Absolutely. And oh my God, we only have like 15 minutes left. So if you're watching, then don't forget, if you have a question or a comment, please feel free to go ahead and put it into the comment section of whatever venue you're watching this. And typically what will happen is I'll read whatever that question or comment is, and then we'll just take turns in turns. I can't speak in responding. So in the meantime, my question to you guys is, what made you say, okay, I need to be a writer / editor?
I think they go hand in hand. Being a good editor helps you become a good writer, because you it's hard to edit your own work, but if you have another editor who's asking questions of your work, you'll all of a sudden go through and be like, okay, yeah, and I'm seeing some inconsistencies here, and you start to edit your own work in conjunction with an editor. And then the author part of you comes through and it's like, oh, I've got some ideas to add to this. Because recently I had a short story that was accepted for publication, and I thought it was pretty good as it was. And the condition for publication or acceptance was, okay, you have to work with an editor to make sure that it is in good shape, and we're not going to accept you unless you work with an editor. And it's a literary magazine that's new. And I looked at the masthead, and they're all writers and editors, with different degrees and whatnot, and they are amazing. It's, a new magazine, so it's not like your, top tier or whatever, but it's a nice community, a really nice community. And they are very invested in what they're doing. So I get this editor that I've never worked with before, and she had lots of comments from my story. And I was like, and they were good. They were the identify, explain, show type thing.
Oh, cool.
Very, very good edits. And I was like, oh, and I really started to think about it. And all of a sudden the writer in me started adding things. I recognized that these are good editor comments, and then the writer in me took over. So you really kind of need both in a way, I think, to do either side well. I don't know, one enhances the other. Also, if you're sick of writing, you can edit, and if you're sick of editing, you can write. So, yeah.
And Peter, what about you? What took you down these horrid paths?
Well, it was the one thing that I did that nobody asked me to do. And I just have always been writing. I mean, I started out writing poems when I was a kid. I read short stories. I actually wrote a short story when I was a little kid, and I still wonder where the hell it came from, because it's amazing how well it came out. But and it's never seen the light of day and never will. So anyways. But
Okay.
It's one thing I've always done. I mean, it's one thing I used to, when I was teaching motorcycles, I would ask if anyone was having difficulty riding a motorcycle getting started. I'd say, think about the one thing you do that nobody asks you to do, that that you do just for yourself. And to a person, man or woman, they would get the motorcycle, they would be riding normally within 5 minutes, because they stopped thinking about it. They thought about the thing they enjoy doing the most. And that's pretty much what writing is to me. It's the thing I enjoy doing the most. And it's just something that's always made sense to me. And then bridging over to editing, it's like it's a whole different world in terms of viewpoint, but it's like I see things in other people's stories that just make sense. That I'm like, this could be fixed here, this could be tweaked. or this, what do you think about this, and like going back to our previous comment about being positive and supportive of the author, it's like I'm trying to enhance their work. I'm trying to build upon what they've already established as a foundation, and to make it that much better, that much clearer, that much more real for the reader to experience. So that it's a completely different set of glasses, as it were, that I can put on to critique and evaluate another author's writing and give them the ability and the building the tools to make their writing even better, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. Do you find, for both of you, do you find that as you're editing, oftentimes you're actually learning from the writer, either inadvertently based on like the techniques they're using, or as you're trying to figure out, like, how can I really make this sing? Like, how can I help this author's, their vision? How do I help them bring this to life?
Yeah, on a sedimentary value, on a sedimentary level, it kind of seeps into you, and because you're calling it out in your mind, seeing it, and then commenting on it, writing the words out to make comments, it's like infusing into you what you're looking at, what you're doing, and how they've done something, and how you can make it a little bit better. It's something you kind of just you take into yourself subconsciously. I've done stuff that I've written that I'm like, where did that come from? And I go back to editing. I'm like, okay, it's similar. It's an echo of that. An echo of something I've read and edited. So.
One of the things that I learned in editing is a lot of authors will be very good at the beats between dialogue. Like they'll have the gestures, they'll have the things. Sometimes it's too much. Sometimes I have to be like, okay, we're almost having stage directions here. We don't need everything here. But my short stories and a lot of my work, I think in general, doesn't really have that. And sometimes you need it. So I'm adding some of it back in because I've seen other authors do it successfully. Some of them too much, but a lot of them successfully. So you're trying to find that middle ground. And sometimes when I'm writing my own work, I'm thinking about those beats between dialogue. Do I need to put a little gesture in here? Do I need it? And sometimes you do. Sometimes it's effective to do that. So yeah, I've learned a lot through editing about those beats between pieces of dialogue.
Very cool. Very cool. Oh my gosh, we only have 8 minutes left. So is there anything that you guys have that you want to chat about, or any questions that came to you in the last like week or so that you thought might be cool?
I can't think of anything of questions that I've had recently. I've covered a lot of them, but when I'm thinking about why do you write, like even I've had the experience, like I was a writing major and I had experience of a professor literally just making fun of something I had written for 2 hours. That was his lesson plan for the class. And he just really made fun of it. He got the other people to laugh and make fun of it. And I was telling somebody the story and they're like, why are you still a writer? And I was like, I knew that what I wrote wasn't good. It wasn't good. It didn't deserve that. It didn't deserve 2 hours of being made fun of. I mean, I had to hold it together for 2 hours and not cry because it was that bad. It was really bad. And this professor won awards for, he had a degree in education. So like an education degree is supposed to teach you not to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not like it's not like I walked in like I was some sort of badass or anything, like he needed to put down or anything. He just literally just did this to me. And yeah, the paper, it wasn't that good. It was like, I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote it, but I needed to write something. I wasn't sure what it was. And there it was. And they made fun of it for the full 2 hours and I didn't cry. But inside, I knew that I was still a writer and I knew that I was still a good writer. So I persisted. It's that inner truth that you tell yourself. And it's like, when I got home that day, I was like, well, what do I do? Do I quit this class? Do I quit the major? I'm like, no, because it's actually what I want to do. I actually want to do this. And I also know that I will never treat another person that way. I will never sit there publicly and just, degrade somebody's work like that. So, and I never did it to students either. When I became, it was English composition, but I was very mindful of not specifically doing that to students who are learning the craft of writing too. So, yeah, it's that whole, inside if you're a writer, whatever horrible critique group you've gotten yourself into somehow, or whatever it is, and that at the end of the day, the thing that other people have tried to make you feel bad about, the thing that makes you feel good is writing, then you need to do that. You need to keep doing that, because at the end of the day, even if people have horrible things to say, the thing that I'm going to do to deal with those emotions, is write about it. So yeah, that's your inner superpower.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
When they say keep writing, that's what it means. Like, you can get the worst feedback from people, but inside, if you're like, no, but I think I'm still a writer, then believe it. You have to believe it.
Peter, how about you?
Those are pretty pet stories. I don't know how to follow that up. I had a similar experience. It didn't last 2 hours, but it was similarly painful. That's what taught me to separate myself from my manuscript, actually. But as far as writing, I mean, if you can stop, because it's a really difficult profession. It's really difficult to be successful at it. But if you can't stop, then go full bore. I mean, go for it. Just write. I got to get back in the saddle myself. Just write every night. Write when you can. Edit when you can. I mean, if you're gonna do it, do it. Don't do it half-assed. Because this is something. If you've got something to say, this is your chance to say it. I mean, to Cecilia's point, I mean, writers can have the last word. I mean, because you can't stop what a writer says. And once a writer gets published and they can put stuff out there, I mean, it's not going to be exactly targeted at specific people, but it's going to sound an awful lot like them. So maybe they understand that they're being poked fun of, or they're being drawn out on the stage to be brought to bear. But yeah, if you're going to do it. Because if you can stop. But if you can't stop, then go full bore.
It's funny because I grew up in a creative household, but I'm both. I'm one of those weirdos that I'm both very analytical and creative, and we were poor, and I was like, I don't want to be poor, so I was like, so I'm not going to do anything creative in terms of a career, and I intentionally chose to go down the path of like more corporate, but I was so damn bored and so unfulfilled that I picked up the pen and just started writing again. So, and I honestly never thought I was good enough to be an editor. It just all happened it was just complete happenstance. So, because a friend of mine, Jade, and I started running Wild, she decided she didn't want to do it in the long term. And I was like, no, this is too important. It has to be done. And I met Peter at AWP, and Ben had submitted work for an anthology. And I told Peter to submit it to the anthology. And I'm editing these works. And the whole time I'm thinking, what gives me the right to do this? And, and for me, that was an even greater impetus to say, I need to know what the hell I'm doing, and I need to be able to justify it so that, I'm not just simply saying, well, I don't like that her hair's pink. I think it should be yellow. Like, it can't be that. It can't, that's just not acceptable, right? It has to be productive, and it has to really, and that, I think that's what made me. It was just kind of, again, it was just sort of happenstance. And every time, and the whole time I sat there going, especially for the first couple of years of us being in existence, I thought, any minute now, one of our authors is going to turn around and say, this is complete BS. How dare you, edit my work? Which we typically get before they've even gotten an editor. It's rare that we get that. and the few times that we've had someone come to me after they've had an editor assigned to them and they said they didn't like the editing, I asked them, well, do me a favor, maybe share it with a friend or someone who's a reader and see what their response is. And then, you know, like allow yourself time to kind of absorb it. Because sometimes to Peter, your point previously, you've just been in this world for so long, you can't tell anymore if something sucks or not. So, yeah. So anyway, on that incredibly lighthearted note, always thank you everyone to join. Suzanne, thank you for the great commentary and reminding us how fabulous Cecilia is, because not that we don't know it, but we love the reinforcement. And for anybody who is watching, don't forget, we are here Thursdays, 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time, 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're here for you to run wild with us and just ask us whatever you want. So we'll see you next time. Ciao.